Hey family, how y'all doing? uh my phone. Okay. All week. Wednesday. It is Wednesday, y'all. It is June the 28th. It is day 3 of Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free, the 7-day experience. Honey, what is the 7-day experience you ask? It is look, I'm trying to multitask. It is the 7-day experience is a program that I put together. It is having the uncomfortable elephant in the room conversations that need to be had in order for us to get all of that in the pit of the belly stuff that we suffer with. I call us, the helper bees of the world. Us that are out there helping and doing, going and being and doing right for everybody else in this world, and we're not taking care of ourselves. Yeah, I came up with this because I have very intentionally, um, got um, disgusted with myself. I was very intentionally disgusted with myself around 2018. It was December 2018. And I was so disgusted with myself. And I said, Lord, if you help me get from this place, I didn't recognize myself. I was 270 pounds. I was, sitting in this place of complacency. I'm a nurse. I'm a nurse for 22 years. I felt like I was moving in slow motion instead of being who I feel like a leader in this community. And just who I am authentically, just how I show up in the world. It just wasn't, it wasn't, it wasn't good. I was not sleeping at night. I was, suffering from panic attacks, depression, anxiety. Um, I recently was diagnosed with PTSD. And so it very much does explain a lot of things. But it was just all these things I didn't recognize myself. And so I got very, very intentional. I said, Lord, if you help me with this, I promise you, I had already promised God that I was going to, do his work. Um, my oldest was in some things, when she was younger, and life was just a little bit crazy. And, if you're a fixer like me, fix things for your children. And fix for her, she had to fix for herself. But at that time, I just had to really, really trust God because I was scared. And so I said, Lord, if you help me, help my baby get through this. I'm going to trust you through this. If you help her get through this, you show me, then, I'm going to do your work. And so now I find myself in situation where can't nobody help me but me, right? I can't fix it. I mean, nobody else can fix it but me. And that was the biggest thing, is that you have to get to a place where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. Like these little, what I'm calling this week, demonic entities that are on us, the anger, the unworthiness, the jealousy, the shame and the guilt, the self-doubt, the negative talk, the procrastination, all those things are demonic. You know what I mean? All those things. And what I mean by demonic is all those are spirits that I feel like are designed to keep you from being who you are called to be, to keep you from purpose, to keep you from showing up as your true, authentic self, right? And so it's so easy to let time go by. We take time for granted. It's so easy to let time go by, and before you know it, 3, 4, 5, 40 years done pass. And then you're on your deathbed and you're laying with regret. What I know for sure is that the devil's job is he's coming. He's seeking to and fro. Who can I devour? Who can I devour? Oh, They broke up over there. Shorty feeling some kind of way. Let me go over there and mess with him. He in a weakened state. Oh yeah. His mama, his dad didn't do right by him when he was younger. He's in a weakened state. Let me go over there and mess with him. Let me go over there and mess with her. Oh, she thought that Shorty was going to be around, but he done broke up with her. Let me go over there and mess with her. You're in a weakened state. And then the other part that I know for sure is a lot of times, a lot of us have been attacked as children, right? What do I mean by attacked? I mean, like, think about this when you think about the stories in the Bible. Moses was a baby. Moses was a baby. And the king was killing all of the boys in the land trying to get to him. You don't think the devil knows who you are, knows what you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be, who you're called to be? They say God knows you in your mother's womb. The devil knows too. He listening. Oh, that's supposed to be. Oh, they supposed to be. Oh, let me attack them early. So for me, it is, if as a little boy, as a little girl, if you were having some kind of trauma or some things that have happened to you very early on, if you were affected as a child, you are surely the one I'm talking to. All of it has been distraction to keep you from purpose. I call him the devil, as that's what he is, as evil in this world, very strategically messing with your mind, playing with you, trying to keep you. Do you think if you were the father that you are supposed to be in this world, well, how would that affect your children? When you're the mother that you're called to be and you're standing in all of your truth, how is that going to affect your children? Right? Some people are like, you know what, Michelle, I'm just an average person. I don't know all of this that you're talking about. I ain't suffering from none of that stuff. Ain't nothing going on with me. But if you are having any adversity in your life, you trying to get something, you trying to go somewhere, you trying to be somebody, you trying to do something with yourself, I call him the devil, honey. That evil, he gets busy trying to distract you, trying to detour you and keep you from purpose. And so for me, it is identifying these things. It is taking a closer look at some of the, I feel like, demonic entities that are happening in our lives. And so I'm not going to ramble on, honey. Let's just go into it. Because this one today is huge. It is huge. And so it's me, honey, your girl, Michelle Franklin, Miss Michelle Allen Franklin, Miss Michelle D.I., Mrs. Divine Intervention, honey, Miss Community Builder, whatever you want to call me, honey. You can call me any one of those things. Don't, unless you're getting creative, don't call me out. Don't call me out my name because you're angry. We're talking about anger today. We're talking about anger today, right? Because how many of us have been angry about something? We have means to be angry about something, right? Things that have happened to us in our lives. But when does it become a problem? Do you have anger issues? Do you know that you do? Right? We're going to talk about it. And so this right here, I call myself Mrs. Divine Intervention for a reason, because there are no coincidences in this world, only God's divine intervention in our lives. And so for me, if you are seeing this video, whether it's today, tomorrow, in 5 years from now, in 10 years from now, if you're watching this video, honey, it's not happenstance. Either you need the message or somebody that you know needs the message. Or probably both of y'all need the message. So if you're watching on Facebook, you can feel free to go to my YouTube channel. This is day 3 of what I'm calling Reflections Choosing Me Guilt-Free, the 7-day experience. Each and every day we're covering a demonic entity. Today it is anger. And so you can find the whole series again on my YouTube channel. Click like, click share, subscribe, honey, while you're over there. Yeah, show your girl some love. I need all of it. All right, so we jumping right on into it. So what is anger? Anger, of course, it can be natural, right? Sometimes some things happen. It's okay to be angry about it, right? Anger is a natural, normal emotion that arises in response to a threat, an injustice, or frustrations. But it is a powerful emotion that causes feelings of displeasure, like you don't like what's going on, right? Irritability, rage. Anger can manifest in many ways, from just a simple annoyance all the way over to the wrath and the fury. The very most important thing to understand about anger is that because it is so complex, please understand that it should be approached. If you're having some anger issues, it's nothing that I say or that I teach on. I'm sorry? Nothing that I say or that I teach on is um, for you to feel guilty or feel some kind of way about yourself. All of these things are to identify and to acknowledge, because if you don't, I'm saying if you don't know that it's there, how will you fix it? And so that's one thing I know for sure. I walked around 2 years with depression and anxiety, panic attacks, not really knowing what all was going on with me. I couldn't fix that thing until I knew, right? And even when I did know, I'm gonna be completely transparent and honest about it. Even when I did know, I was kind of in denial about it. And so I didn't do anything. So I suffered in silence for 2 years. And so that is why, again, we're addressing this, because if you had some anger issues, right? It's not to be like, oh my God, all of the stuff. It is so that you can stop suffering. Just straight up. Stop suffering. Because you are. Because if you continue in anger, you are going to die a lonely person. Men and women. This is not anger. These things don't discriminate. Okay? So let's just jump into it. So it is, again, essential to approach anger with self-awareness, empathy, and a willingness to address and understand its underlying causes. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen real quick as we start, because again, I'm teaching these things as spirits. Again, I feel like you're not born angry, right? You don't have to stay angry. I feel like sometimes you'll be feeling fine and then all of a sudden you don't know what's wrong. Some people black out in anger and they don't even realize the behavior that happened because they were so upset, and they black out and they don't even remember. I'm talking about, especially people that are, you know, um, in domestic violence situations. You're putting your hands on somebody, right? Men and women. Please understand, we're not discriminating. It is Men's Month for Michelle Di for the month of June, but we're not discriminating. This is for men and women. It doesn't discriminate. And so if you're putting your hands on somebody for any reason, I don't care how much you justify that thing in your mind, something is going on. Wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, she cheated on me, she did this to me, he did this, he hit me, no, no. And again, no judgment. But understand, if you are in relation and you have to go there with somebody, no, then that relationship probably is not for you. Or if you're going to stay in that relationship, then you need to get you some help. Again, no judgment, but this is where we're going. So we're going to talk about, how do I know? Because I just get angry sometimes, and it's not really a big deal. And I might slap my girl sometimes, or I might hit him upside his head or whatever. But we love each other, so it's okay. We're going to talk about it. Even if you're doing it to your children, right? If you're doing it to your children, same thing. No. There's a difference between disciplining your children, you know, and then there's a difference between being angry and taking aggression and beating your children. Okay. So let's go here because, again, these are spirits that come out of us. So what I want you to understand that if you are dealing with anger, right? If you are dealing with it, then it is something that you have control over. So we're going to look at the signs and symptoms. How can you tell? What are some signs, right? We're going to look at some reasons why people might, okay? And then we'll look at some solutions to help you. So let's go here. Get my notes right. Wait a minute. Scrolling. Okay, so how do we know we're dealing with anger? Here we go. Common signs that you may have some anger issues. Let's go on into it. Number one, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4. We're looking at 10 signs that you may be struggling with some anger issues. Here we go. Frequent and intense anger. It says you find yourself getting angry more often than usual. And then the intensity of your anger is disproportionate to the solution at hand, meaning you're kind of overreacting, right? Small things are making you turn into this big bust of energy, right? Negative energy. Small frustrations trigger strong and prolonged anger responses. That is, something small happens and an hour later, 2 hours later, you still are going on and on and on, cussing and fussing, hitting and whatever you're doing, right? And having this negative energy on you. Frequent or intense anger, small frustrations, inconvenience, and triggers. And so what is a trigger? A trigger is something that, whatever reason, it sends you back to another place in time, right? So a trigger could be, I'll give you an example. When I was having my panic attacks, I would be driving to work in the morning. I started having my panic attacks after my big mama and my stepfather passed away. And so my stepfather drove a white and black Blazer. And so on my way to work, I would see the Blazer and it triggered me, and I would start having this panic attack just from seeing the Blazer. Or, something happens where something takes you back and reminds you of something that happened in your past. Whether it be a smell, it could be something physical, it could be something that you see, it could be something that you hear. You could hear a song, and then all of a sudden in your mind, you flash back to some other period and point in time, right? So those are triggers. And so one of the things that I do in my program is I help you to identify your triggers, because if you don't know, you don't even understand. Sometimes it's very subconscious. Like you don't even understand. Like I didn't know when I was driving to work that's why I was responding the way that I was responding. I didn't know it was the white and black Blazer. My dad drove the Blazer. Like I didn't know what my triggers were. And so I just found myself responding, right? And so knowing what your triggers is a huge step. Whether it's my program, a therapist, whoever, but they can help you identify what your triggers are. Number 2, explosive outbursts. You have difficulty controlling your anger and often experience explosive outbursts. These outbursts may involve yelling, screaming, physical aggression, or damaging property. Afterward, you might feel regret or remorse for your actions. And 9 times out of 10, you do, right? And I'm not saying that you're in an abusive relationship, but I'm saying sometimes this happens in abusive relationships where afterwards you feel really, really bad. Now, I can remember being younger and seeing some situations where some people that I knew, and it was, the yelling and the fussing and the all of this stuff, and then shortly thereafter, or maybe the next day, there were apologies. You know what I mean? And so, because again, these spirits jump on us, right? It's not who you are, right? So you are going to feel some kind of regret. You are going to feel some kind of remorse because authentically it's not aligning with you. It's a turmoil that's going on, right, inside. But again, feeling some kind of remorse afterwards, definitely a sign. Number 3, physical symptoms. Your anger manifests of physical symptoms, such as your heart rate increases. You start clenching your fists. Your muscles get tense. Headaches, stomach aches. These are physical manifestations that may occur during or after an anger episode. Number 4, verbal or emotional aggression. You frequently engage in verbal aggression, including shouting, insults, or verbal threats towards others. You may also engage in passive aggressive behaviors, such as sarcastic comments, silent treatments, or deliberately withholding affection. And so this is very subtle, right? Hey, girl, hey. This is very subtle, right? Verbal or emotional aggression. And so this is not something where most people are like, oh, I have an anger issue or whatever, right? I probably need to check that, because it doesn't always show up. It's almost like, I'm responding, she did this to me or he did this to me and I'm responding, right? And so we're going to justify that thing in our minds and in our heads anyway. You know what I mean? So, so the verbal and the physical emotional aggression, that's real. The sarcastic, I'm very sarcastic when I'm angry. Very sarcastic. My daughter, my oldest, she's like, Mom, you the petty queen. I'm very sarcastic. I very sarcastic. So the sarcastic comments, the silent treatment, I will definitely, I'm angry with you about it. Yeah. Don't even look my way. Don't look my way. Withholding affection, definitely, right? We don't process that as like anger and holding this emotion, but it is, right? It's a sign. Number 5, impaired relationships. Your anger issues negatively impact your relationship with your family, with your friends, or your colleagues. You may have frequent conflicts, strained interactions, or experience a breakdown in communication due to your anger outbursts. And so this is huge for me because I don't feel like I was angry about stuff when I was younger, right? But when I went back and I'm thinking about it, because again, guys, this is not for you to feel some kind of way about yourself. It is to really get honest with yourself and take a look inside. What are some things, right, that I don't like, or that I know, or that I know people have responded and have said to me, right? If somebody has told you these things over and over again, like, people are not telling you this just because, right? Come on. People are not telling you this just because. They're telling you out of love. They're telling you because they're trying to help you. They're telling you because they want you to get some help, right? And some people that might be part of the anger. I don't need no help. I'm fine. Part of the problem. Denial. But it's all good. Everybody isn't ready. Sometimes you have to lose everything that you have before you finally get it. And that is my purpose. Like, I don't want you to lose the things that you love. I don't want you to lose that person that you love because you can't quite pull it together, because you can't take a minute to self-reflect and take accountability for your actions and realize, I got some stuff I need to work on. So again, I had like my my brother would tell me, you know, again, it didn't come out all the time, but it did come out in ways of, if you were bucking against something that I wanted or that I was trying to do, I would cuss you out in the heart. I would just cuss you out in the heartbeat, and so and so it did have, it's not just relationships, again, it's relationships with your family, friends, or colleagues, right? I would cuss you out. And so I cussed my brother out. He was just really genuinely trying to tell me something. I didn't care about what he was talking about. I was feeling the way that I was feeling. It made me very angry, what he was saying. I took it way out of proportion. It was a breakdown in communication, really, is what it was. He was genuinely, trying to show me some love. But the way that he said it, I didn't like it. And I took offense to it. And I started the cussing and the fussing. And so it caused this rift where we didn't speak for like 2 years, you know. And that's something that I had to look at, like, what part am I playing in why we're not speaking, or why, this thing is why he felt like he can't come. I'm like, why do you feel like he can't talk to me now? Just probably recently, within the last few months, my mom came to me and said, your brother is feeling this kind of way about this, and he asked me to say this to you. And I was so offended, right? I couldn't figure out. I'm like, why he couldn't just come talk to me? Like, that's just stupid. You know what I mean? Like, I'm feeling some kind of way about it. But in the same thought, in the same breath that I was thinking and I was saying that to myself, God gave me that flashback. And even though it's been years, because I was in my 20s, right? I was newly divorced. And so had to be like 2021. And so I'm 46 now. You're talking 25 years later, but that did something to him, right? And so it caused this thing. So I had to take accountability for that. Like, I hurt him when I did that, right? And so that just is what it is. Again, it impairs relationships. Number 6, difficulty letting go. These are 10 signs that you may have some issues with anger, that you may be struggling with anger, right? Number 6, difficulty letting go. You find it challenging to let go of grudges or past anger-inducing incidents. The anger continues to simmer long after the initial trigger, and you struggle to forgive or move on from perceived wrongs. Now, I did a forgiveness video, right? I did a forgiveness video on 30th of May. It is available on my YouTube channel, and it is available on my Facebook page if you scroll down and see it. But for those of y'all who follow me, y'all know that I've had, I talk about now where I've had issue with my stepmother and letting things go. There was a lot of anger there. Just full transparency. There was a lot of anger there, right? So I can genuinely remember, for those of you who don't know, my stepmother choked me when I was like 16 years old. I moved to Texas. She was, doing some, go watch the video. It was just crazy. I don't want to get all into it, but nevertheless, so it was, all of that stuff was happening. She choked me. It was this big traumatic incident. And then I started just looking at what I felt like was her relationship and my dad's relationship. And so I never felt like she loved my father. And so for me now, I'm looking at that relationship, getting older now, it's just teenagers and you're getting older. And so now you're just starting to see things and you're starting to look at things a little bit differently. And so, and then giving the incident that happened with us, with her choking me, And I'll call it what it is because it was an assault. I was a child, she was an adult. Her assaulting me the way that she did, um, I didn't forgive that. And I feel like I probably could have forgiven the incident if I didn't feel like she was still using my father, but because that was on top of that, and the behavior and the manipulation and the lie, like all of the stuff, right? And so nevertheless, I was carrying anger. I was carrying anger for that. So I can remember it happened when I was like 16. So I can remember leaving, getting married, coming back home. And I remember I came home to the house and I went to see my dad. And I can remember her very vividly, like coming in as if we were going to all sit down. And because now I'm an adult, right? It was as if we were going to all come and like have a conversation. And so I remember I just kind of looked. And I think she saw my face because I didn't say anything, but I remember looking. And anybody who knows me knows like I'm very transparent. Like my face, if it's not right, it's just not right. And so I just gave this look. And so she left, you know. And so, but it was like years had passed at that point, maybe 3 or 4, maybe since the incident. But um, it had produced this anger in me. Now I wasn't talking about it because that's what we do, right? We don't talk about the things. And so this is another reason why this anger is again produced in us and we don't even realize it because we have gone on and on and on, going and being and doing. We've gone on about life. These things have happened to us. We haven't addressed them, right? Maybe the adults in your life didn't address them appropriately. Black folks, we don't talk about stuff. That's what goes on in my house, stays in my house. We're not communicating, right? And so these things are happening, and then you're left with these emotions and these scars. And what do you do with all of that? It's all bottled up inside. Of course, there's fury and anger if you've had some things happen to you. Somebody done, traumatized you for because you were hungry. Like it's stupid, you know what I mean? So, of course, there's going to be anger there, right? Things that have happened to you, whatever has happened to you, right? Of course, there's going to be anger there. So, not being able to let go of things causes anger. That is a full source, right? That is a full source. Number 7, problems at work or at school. Your anger affects your performance at work or at school. You may have difficulty concentrating, having conflicts with your co-workers or your classmates, or you may face disciplinary action due to the anger-related behavior. Because what? You're just at work having outbursts and going off on everybody. Not appropriate. Excuse me. Number 8, physical or verbal self-harm. Physical or verbal self-harm. These again are signs and symptoms that you may be struggling with anger. Physical or verbal self-harm. Your anger sometimes leads to self-destructive behaviors, such as physically harming yourself. That means hitting walls or objects, or engaging in self-deprecating or self-critical language. That is all of that negative self-talk, but it's just way louder, you know, and being very critical of yourself. I'm stupid. I can't believe you did that. What are you doing? All of that type stuff, that language. And then the physical harm to yourself, hitting the wall, the slicing, the cutting on people do a lot of cutting, that struggle with anger, that struggle with depression. And, that is one of the ways that, in situations where you might not have had any control, say you were in a home where you watch your mom or your dad or whoever get physically abused, or something that happened, that might have traumatized you as a child. You don't have any voice when you're younger. And so physical harm to yourself, that's something that you can control. And it sounds like a little bit crazy, right? Like a little control of anything. I got control over this. And it happens very, very easily. Number 9, substance abuse. You turn to a substance like alcohol or drugs as a way to cope, to suppress your anger. Substance abuse can definitely make the anger worse. It can create a destructive cycle or behavior. We hear about all of the mean drunks, right? When you're growing up, it's like, man, you hear about, all these terms and all these things that are being said when people are drunk, and then they come back and apologize later. They having all of this remorse, but substance abuse can definitely make it worse. Number 10, feelings of guilt or regret. Feelings of guilt and regret, because again, this is not who you are. Don't want to be. We weren't born angry, right? You didn't wake up and all of a sudden one day you're just angry. Things have happened to you. And so you're responding, right? And a lot of times it's stuff that you're responding now because it's like this buildup. And that's what happened with me. Like last year when I thought about it, this stuff had been going on since I was little. But I've never responded, right? We don't respond. We just keep going. But those feelings are building and building and building and building. And so that anger is doing what? It's festering. It's building. But again, that's not who you are. You're not trying to walk around being this angry person. You're not just trying to walk around cussing people out all day. You're not trying to walk around and have this attitude. That's not who you are and who you want to be, right? And so after you experiences these angry episodes, you feel guilty. Like you done cuss somebody out to the 10th power. I know after I cuss somebody out really bad, I do feel bad. I would, I definitely would feel bad about it. I'm laughing but I'm serious. I would definitely feel bad about it. I'm like, I could have said that better. I could have done something, I could have done something else. Experiencing anger episodes, you feel guilty, remorseful, or regretful about your behavior. You recognize that your anger is causing harm and negatively impacting your life and the lives of others. Again, that situation with my brother when I cussed him out, back in the day, I felt pretty bad about that. I really did. I felt bad about that. I remember saying what I said. I meant what I said, but I could have said it better, right? I meant what I said, but I could have said it better. And so you said, I know, right? I've done that and said, I could have said that better. I was very angry last year with my dad. And I remember I was talking to my uncle, and my uncle told me recently, he was mad at me. Now I hadn't seen him. So I didn't know that he was mad at me. So he said he was mad at me because when I was talking, and I was at that point, he caught me at like the height. You ever been holding something for so long, and then, you finally, because I do that, I will hold stuff for so long. And so then when I'm finally at that tipping point, like I don't turn off. That's why I don't let myself get there that often, because I don't know how to shut it off. And it's just going and going and going, right? And a lot of people are like that. It's like once you're there, you can't turn it off. And so I was at the height of it. And my uncle asked me a question, and I was, and if you know me, right, like I said, I don't let myself get there that often. And I'm normally the person that's trying to mend stuff and trying to bring things back together. But when I'm there, right? I'm human just like everybody else. And I was all the way there at that point. So my uncle said to me, he said, I'm upset with you. He said, I was upset with you. He said, because of how you were saying things. He said, you're a nurse. He said, you know how to say things better than the way that you said them. He said to me, you know how to say things better than the way that you said it. And I was like, yeah, I was mad. Like, that's all I can say. Like, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Like, I'm human. I was mad. And like I said, he caught me. I was at a tipping point, honey. Hot as fish grease. And like I said, this mouth of mine's, baby, I will slice you and dice you. So again, I really try not. I really try not to go there because I don't like being that person. I really don't like being that person. But I'm nasty mad. I'm nasty when I'm mad. Nasty mad. Very nasty. So those are the 10 signs, right? Those are the 10 signs that you may be struggling with anger. Those are the 10 signs that you may be struggling with anger. Now, let me play y'all a video real quick because, again, this is how God works for me. I promise you, I have never seen this video prior to yesterday. And I'm doing this series, and I told y'all yesterday I'm going to be talking about anger today. And I get off of the thing. I get off my live yesterday, and this video popped up. And I was like, thank you, Lord, because I watch Eric Thomas all the time. But I had never seen this video, nor had I ever heard him say this. But he confirmed what I'm saying to you guys, which is these emotions, these negative emotions, they're very much demonic. They're very much, very strategically, would it be better off for me and my brother to be in conflict? In the devil's eyes, it would. You know why? Because since we were little, I've been my brother's voice of reason, right? I've been the one, he's my older brother, but nevertheless, I've always been the one to talk him off the ledge. I've always been the one. My brother called me. He was in school. He was about to graduate like within a week, and he was talking about quitting. Boy, what? But what are you talking about? We're not doing that. I understand you're upset. You know what I'm saying? Who done packed his bags 1,000 times when we was kids? Talking about he was running away from home. Who caught him at the back door? So wouldn't it just be, you know what I mean, for it to be very strategic for us to have conflict because I'm his person. I'm his anchor, right? And so understand that when I say that these spirits jump on you, they use you. They will, very strategically try to break down your relationships with your children, your husband, your wives, your significant other, whoever it is, your moms, your dads, people in your life, very strategically. Because think of what the impact that you have on the people in your life, right? You're a positive light in this world. Think about the people that you've cussed out, or the people that you might be angry with, or the people that, think about your role in their life and what it's like since you've been gone. I know I have people that I don't even fool with anymore and kind of went downhill. Not saying, and catch this, because it is not like this conceited thing, right? But it is understanding that you have a positive role in people's lives, that you have an effect on people, whether you're there or whether you're not there. Your presence has an effect. So to strategically get you to a place where there's not any harmony, think about husband and wives and how the household looks when they're together, working as a family, working as a unit. Everybody's working in harmony versus the cussing, the fussing, the yelling, and the divorce. And what does the ripple effect of that do? The devil's like, check, got one, got another one, got it. I'm not even trying to be funny, but the 2 years that me and my brother didn't speak, he met a trifling girl. Trifling. Married her. I always said that would have never happened if we were together. Never. Right? It would have never happened. But you play a role. Again, you play a very significant role. This is not, it is understanding who you are in this world, understanding your role in this world, and understanding how strategically the devil will come and try to destroy your relationships. And so I'm going to play this video. I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second. Share screen. I want Eric Thomas. All right, y'all, here we go.
You try to grow and change, you can't, because that thing is in your spirit. And you go, the thing that I fear, it didn't even happen yet. It hadn't even happened to Job. And Job was thinking about it as if it happened. So there are things that have taken place in our lives that is not the fact that it happened that's bad, but it happened and it keeps happening because it's still in our spirits. And God told me to tell you today, he told me to tell you today, Rodney, he told me to tell you today that it's some stuff in your spirit. It needs to get out your spirit and go in the trash. So God told me to tell you today, I'm going to show you in the scripture. God told me to tell you today that I don't care how bad it was. I don't care how personal it was to you. I don't care how much you loved them. I don't care what's going on. It's still in your spirit and you can't move forward because it's still in your spirit. And you keep attracting certain things to you because it's in your spirit. And because it's in your spirit, that's why Job has come upon you. You actually in your fear brought it to you. Why? Because fear is a spirit. And spirits have power. Oh, I want to take, I'm going to say it one more time. I'm going to say it slow. Spirits have power. And that's why it's done in spirit, because if the devil can do it in spirit, he can keep it in you and keep an attachment to himself to you. Huh? So there are terms that you use and stuff that you use that refer to the past, and you keep talking about it like it's today, and some of you got guilt. That's why the Bible says there is no condemnation. It doesn't mean that you should keep doing dirt. It doesn't mean you should keep doing wrong. But what he's saying, there's no condemnation, meaning that after you bring it to me, you got to put it in the trash. Because if you bring it to me and you don't put it in the trash, it's going to manifest. It's going to reappear. It's going to show itself. So you got to let it go. Those of you with stuff that happened in your teenage years, you haven't let it go yet, and that's why you can't go. Some stuff that happened in your 20s, you can't. You're like, why am I still attracting the same person? Because you got the same spirit. Why am I attracting the same opportunity? Like, why is it that I can't never in business take off? Because you got the same spirit. And God is saying, for I have not given you that spirit. All right, so I want to go here before we go there. Praise God. Can I just teach, Lisa? I just want to teach for a minute. If I could just teach for a minute. Amen. For those of you who are watching, please do what I'm telling you to do at home. So watch what God told me. God told me that it ain't nothing wrong with your marriage. But what happens is when we get married, we marry one person, but then there are things that happen. And when those things happen, we become a different person. And when we become a different person, the person that married us don't like us because they didn't marry that person. Come on. When we start doing business together, and the person that I was attracted to, but when you become a different person, I don't like you no more, and now I don't want to do business with you no more. God told me to tell you that if we can stay in the spirit and we can run this play, we're always going to be good. God told me to tell you that there are many of us, there are things that we've done that was not a part of God's play, but it was a part of fear, and fear made you run a different play.
Powerful. So again, let me get exit. Listen, computer, you're not following the directions. I'm like, I said exit. So again, fear, demonic spirit, right? Anger, demonic spirit. Jealousy, demonic spirit, very strategically, right? Very strategically. And so again, we talked about what anger is. We've talked about some signs and symptoms, right? Some signs that fear may be there. Now, these are some underlying issues that may have caused or may have had developed some fear in you. Okay, excuse me, some fear. I'm saying fear because he said fear. Some anger in you. Okay. I already covered fear, and so again, you can go to my YouTube channel and watch that. Very transparent. If you don't know by now, your girl is very transparent. Nothing is off the table because I believe in that Romans 8:28. I don't believe that I went through the crazy for nothing. I don't believe that I've seen the crazy for nothing. The people that I've been in contact with, the stories and all of the things is for me to come back and share to help somebody else through. I thought about Harriet Tubman the other day. I said, girl, you getting your Harriet Tubman on. You done came to freedom. You done came up here, right? I had to go through the journey myself. I had to get myself to a place of self-reflection, of going into the pit of my belly and looking at those things very transparently. You can lie all day to other people, honey, but you can't lie to yourself. And if you continue to lie to yourself, guess what? You're going to be miserable. How long are you going to continue to do that? We were not put on this world in this world to be miserable, right? Yes. And so getting my Harriet Tubman on. So I been doing this work very, very diligently, very humbly, very in the Lord, okay, show me, use me, teach me, so that I can go back and teach some other people. Because again, our Romans 8:28, everything, honey, the good and the bad and the crazy, it's all working together. And I know that for sure. So I can go back and grab. How many times have you been through something when you were younger or some years ago? And then you at work and somebody's like, oh man, I'm wondering, you like, man, I went through that. Yo, you won't be all right. If this what happened, blah, 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 blah. Or go do this, or go see that person. They'll be able to help you because they helped me. You ain't go through it just because. You're not going through the crazy just because. It's all lessons and blessings, babe. Yeah, as painful as it is, it's all lessons and blessings. And so if you shift your mindset, what are you saying? Shift how you thinking about that thing. Just turn the page, boo. Shift how you thinking about it because you've been stuck on this same page. For how long? You've been stuck on this page. Turn the page, babe. It's way more to your story than what you're allowing. Yeah. We're going to go into, these are, if you're struggling with anger, these are maybe some ways of how it might have started. Like, how did I even get all this anger inside of me? Like, I don't even know. I didn't even know all that anger that I had for my dad was in there. I promise you I didn't. I was so mad last year. I did not know all that anger was inside of me. I promise you I didn't know all that anger was inside of me. I've been holding that for a long time because it doesn't show up as anger, right? It just shows up as, it shows up as disappointment, right? It shows up as hurt, pain. But oh, as that ball keeps going and going and going, it's building. That big old ball is in there festering and growing. And then that nasty anger ball comes out. You're like, woo, I didn't even know all this was inside of me. But this is Reflections Choosing Me Guilt Free. This is the 7-day experience. It is day 3, and we're talking about anger. And this right here are 1, 2, 3. Let's see how many. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 ways that, if you may or may not know, if these things have happened to you, you may have some anger in the pit of your belly. Let's go over them. Number 1, unresolved trauma. That's the number 1 thing. Unresolved trauma. If you've had some past traumatic experiences, such as physical abuse, emotional abuse, neglect, witnessing violence, that can all trigger anger-related responses. Think about the boys. I always think about the boys when I was younger, and I think about all of the fighting that happened, right? All the fighting that happened, it wasn't because these boys are bad boys or, just want to go beating up everybody. Again, we're not born with anger, right? It develops some kind of way. Something is happening, right? Maybe their dad is not in their life. Maybe their mom is trifling. You think that's going to cause a little anger? You don't think that's a little traumatic to children, right? This unresolved neglect. Somebody is supposed to love me and take care of me and they haven't. Yeah, that's going to cause, like, what the hell? What's going on with me? What's wrong with me? Right? You watching her, you might be seeing her. Why my mom don't act like your mom? That's going to cause some anger, right? It's going to have an emotional impact on you. Again, I have a video. I'm going to share my screen.
Danielle! What's up? Well, I'm glad you're here. Some business came up I gotta handle. So we're gonna have to put our trip on hold. You understand? Yeah, that's cool. It's cool. Just for a couple of weeks. I understand. Yeah. Maybe a little longer. Yeah, whatever. Look, I'll call you next week and we'll iron out the details. Okay? Yeah. It was great seeing you, son. You too, Lou. Yeah,
I'm sorry, Will.
You know what? Actually, this works out better for me. You know, the Slimmies of summer come to class wearing next to nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's all right to be angry.
Hey, why should I be mad? I'm saying at least he said goodbye this time. I just wish I hadn't wasted my money buying this stupid present.
I'm sorry. If there was something that I
Hey,
could
you know
do.
what? You ain't got to do nothing. I feel like, ain't like I'm still 5 years old, Ain't like I'm going to be sitting up every night asking my mom, when's daddy coming home, Who needs him? Hey, he wasn't there to teach me how to shoot my first basket, but I learned, didn't I? Hey, I got pretty damn good at it too, didn't I, Uncle Phil? Got through my first day without him, right? I learned how to drive. I learned how to shave. I learned how to fight without him. I had 14 great birthdays without him. He never even sent me a damn card. To hell with him! I ain't need him then and I don't need him now.
Well,
Now, you know what, Uncle Phil? I'm gonna get through college without him. I'm gonna get a great job without him. I'm gonna marry me a beautiful honey, and I'm gonna have me a whole bunch of kids. I'm gonna be a better father than he ever was. And I sure as hell don't need him for that, because ain't a damn thing he could ever teach me about how to love my kids. How come you don't want me, man?
This scene, that scene is one that has always touched my heart, because I knew that personally. I knew that personally through my brother. I knew it personally through some friends, and being that person to watch all of that pain and not expect there to be some anger there. I was angry. I was very angry. To this day, I might need to put that on the list, because to this day, I'm not talking to the sperm donor. I'm not. I've watched, the effect of the decisions that, and how that affected my brother. And so I'm angry about that, And so again, unresolved trauma of, neglect, emotional abuse, the saying that I'm coming and I'm not coming, the showing up, all of those things, of course. Like, did you see how Will was like, man, I don't care about that. But is it really that you don't care? No, it's not. It's not. But we walk around and we pretend as if everything is fine when these things have happened to us. We don't have no control. We don't have no real good explanation. It ain't nothing. What you think Lou could say? What you think these fathers, could these men and women do it too? I've had plenty of friends, and the women were so trifling. So trifling. You don't think that's going to cause some anger in these children? You don't think it's going to cause some kind of emotional strife? It is. So again, understanding that if you're in this situation, or you've been in this situation, or even like me, you've watched somebody be in this situation. Yeah, I'm angry about that. To this day, I try hard not to even be in his presence when the month below couple of times that he was around, because I don't want to be disrespectful, but yo, I could put some hands on you right now. To this day. To this day. I'm teaching. I'm coming back. Wait a minute. Again, seriously, unresolved trauma was number one. These are signs and symptoms of how you might have even developed anger, right? I had some issue. Number two, stress and frustration. High levels of stress, ongoing frustration, or constant pressure can build up over time and lead to anger issues. Difficulty in managing stress at work, relationships, financial problems, or other challenges can cause feelings of anger and irritability. I did not even realize how much my finances and lack of finances caused me to have anger. I was not walking around, because again, we suppress this and we pretend as if we're okay. So I really consciously did not understand and know that I was dealing with this, but I was so angry with my ex-husband. Like every time that I was in a financial situation, every time that something happened to me, every time I was like, I felt like I'm not even supposed to be in this situation. Where's my husband? I was angry, right? And I was blaming him years later. And so I had to get to a point where I realized, what I was doing, and take accountability and responsibility from that, because the way that it showed up was I was very irritable. I was very short-tempered with my baby girl. And I know that now because my girls are 14 years apart. And of course, now I'm not under all of that stress. I'm not under the financial strain like I was. When I had her 14 years ago, and my daughter would be saying, my oldest would make remarks like, you gonna let her she'd be 4 or 5 or, whatever, she'd do something, and I would just laugh at it or whatever. And my oldest was like, you gonna let her get away with that? You're not gonna say nothing to her? And so the first time I was joking, I'm laughing. I'm laughing it off. But the second time she said it, I was like, wait a minute, let me pay. Why is she saying this like this? And I had to go back and again take accountability, because this was kind of right in the beginning of me, 2019, when I was really taking that look, at the things and what was going on. And so I was like, wait a minute, let me take a look at that. So again, if somebody is saying something to you, if somebody has said something to you multiple times, even if they say it in a joking way, it's something to take into accountability, right? It's something to take into account. Why are they saying that to you, right? I could have easily gotten offended, like, why are you saying that to me? Ain't nobody abuse you, blah, 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 blah. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, I didn't just abuse my child. I wasn't, just beating her down just to beat her down, or, doing all these things that I felt like, or in my mind, abusive people do, quote unquote. But if she's saying something to me that I don't like and I'm irritated and I'm annoyed because I'm thinking about the finances and the money that I don't have, and I'm stressed because I'm in nursing school, and I'm highly going through all this, and I'm frustrated, right? And so I'm irritable. And this baby comes and says something to me, and I'm snapping at her. Something to look at, right? Something to look at. Again, not anything to hold yourself hostage and be so guilt driven. This is not about that. This is about just taking an inner look at some things and some behaviors that that everybody do, that you don't even really realize it has affected somebody else. It's affecting somebody else, right? How I respond in this negative, snappy, irritable way it affected my oldest daughter. I had to look at that. I got to take responsibility for that. Do you know when I started looking at this thing, I was calling that girl crying, apologizing to her all the time. Oh my God, I am so sorry. I didn't know. I didn't realize, right? Because I didn't know and I didn't realize, right? It wasn't any malice in that thing, but to acknowledge somebody that you've hurt somebody, that you've done it. And then not only to acknowledge it, but to fix it, right? Because you can acknowledge and you can apologize all day, but if you continue to do the same thing over and over again, guess what? Don't nobody care about your little funky apology. Just like that. Do you think if I call my brother now and my brother's expecting me to respond, right, the way that I used to respond? So you think even if I call him and I can have a conversation with him and I can apologize or whatever, but when he would say something, because I was still in my 20s, I would still kind of respond in a little snappy way at times, right? Excuse me. And so what does that lead to? That leads to now 25 years later, even though I'm a different person, I'm not responding that way anymore. He don't know that because I've hurt him. And I have to acknowledge that, right? I have to make that right. Number 3, relationship conflicts. Troubled or strained relationships, whether it's with family members, friends, romantic partners, or colleagues, can be a significant source of anger. Frequent conflicts, unresolved issues, or poor communication could lead to chronic anger and resentment. The poor communication is huge. If you are saying something to somebody over and over and over and over and over again, you may want to say it differently. You may want to try listening. You may want to try stop assuming. You may want to ask some questions. You may want to just sit and be still and get to a quiet place and say, Lord, help me with this. Help me to see what this person is saying. Help me to see or how I communicate this better. Lord, give me something. Give me someone. Maybe you need a mediator to help, right? Something. But resolving the unresolved issues. Again, huge. The issue of my stepmom, it was unresolved, right? Unresolved anger. Yeah. Number 4, mental health conditions. Certain mental health conditions can contribute to anger-related struggles. And so it is a such thing is called intermittent. That means it comes and goes. Intermittent explosive disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, borderline personality disorder, or substance abuse disorders can heighten the likelihood of experiencing anger-related difficulties. And that just is what it is. That you would have to seek the help of a medical professional. That is not something that, we can just kind of, and a lot of times a therapist, right? A psychologist, a psychiatrist, they are all trained to, listen to what you're saying, to look at your behaviors and note, the signs and symptoms of these mental conditions. And so if those are questionable, if you have any issue, any problem, then definitely seek some professional medical attention for that. And there is testing that also can be done. If you just want to know, right? Do I have anything? I feel like I'm struggling with something. I don't exactly know what it is, right? Or I think it's this and it might be something else. That's literally how I was tested. I was diagnosed with PTSD. My therapist thought I had ADD. She thought I had attention deficit because I was forgetting things. I was forgetting, and I was losing spaces and spans of time. But along with the PTSD, it was really just a depression and an anxiety disorder. And those are all symptoms. But at periods of time, it was so heightened that I was like, this is happening way more frequently, and I recognized that and I reported that to her. So she sent me for testing. And that's how I was diagnosed with the PTSD last fall. So they was like, no ADHD, but no ADD, but you do have. I was like, I'm going to stay focused. Number 5, learned behavior. Some individuals may have learned maladaptive ways of expressing or dealing with anger during their upbringing. Growing up in an environment where anger was poorly managed or expressed inappropriately can influence a person's own anger responses. And so that is your, Chris Brown type situations, right? Where he grew up watching his dad abuse his mom. And so he, had that outburst with Rihanna. And there's some people that's like, man, that's no excuse. I understand everybody is different. And I'm not making excuses, but I'm just saying, again, we're not born with these anger things, right? I've been in a domestic violence situation. And so I don't know what he saw growing up. You know what I mean? I have no idea. But I do know that there was a lot of neglect. There was a lot of that daddy issue, that waiting on the porch and waiting for daddy. I know there's some anger issues there. And so how it shows up in your environment and how you're growing up, it does make a difference. Some people, it has the opposite effect on them, right? I know some people are like, you know what? I saw my dad or my mom putting their hands on whoever else, and I'm never doing that. I'm never going to be that person. I'm never going, you know what I mean? It's the opposite effect, and that's always a blessing, but everybody is different. Everybody is different. Number 6, unrealistic expectations. This is huge. When individuals hold unrealistic expectations for themselves or for others, they may become frustrated or angry when those expectations are not met. Perfectionism and a rigid mindset can contribute to anger-related struggles when things don't go as planned. Now, when I think about this, I think about your Joe Jacksons, right? Where he was really abusive to the children because of this crazy unrealistic expectation of perfection that he had for them. So those type of situations of perfectionism is something that, that I think about and people go through. And it may just be, you didn't get perfect grades, or, you didn't make your bed correctly, or you didn't look a certain way, or whatever. It's these images that people hold very dear. And for whatever reason, because of their upbringing, that they, that causes all this anger and this response. And so my phone's acting crazy. Give me 1 second. And so those, again, that was 10 ways that you can tell if you're struggling, or if you have any signs of anger, how they may have even come about, right? And so these, again, are things that you can talk with your therapist about. You can get a therapist if you're a worker and you have insurance. Then, there's an EAP program. After you finish the EAP program, because a lot of people use the EAP program incorrectly. And so the purpose is for you to find somebody that you trust, right? Your job may get you, this is an employee assistance program. Your job may give you, 2 sessions, some because of COVID and the increase of depression and mental health diagnosis since COVID. Some of the insurance companies have increased that visit from 2 to 4. So check with your insurance company to see if, what that might look like for you. But the EAP is Employee Assistance Program, and they do offer mental health assistance. And so the 2 or 4 first visits are free, and then you have to pay your copay. And so your copay is not something outrageous. And if, again, because of COVID, now a lot of the mental health coverages and benefits, a lot of them are free. And so I know when I was working at my last job, I used to have to pay like a $25 copay every time I went to see my therapist. And towards the end, it was free because of the benefits that increased with COVID. So check with your insurance, because you may have to pay nothing. It may be at 100%, or it may be, it's not outrageous like it used to be. That was one thing that I know for sure used to keep us African American people from seeing a therapist, and that was a quote unquote for white people thing, because it was like $100 a session, and we trying to eat over here. So are we going to eat, or we're going to see a therapist? We're going to eat. Right? It was that choice you had to make. And so thank God, some things are different now. And so even now they have different resources. And again, you can check my YouTube channel. It is listed on the resource on this broadcast live. It is listed on the resources in the description, free resources that will work with you. Also, 988 instead of 911 is the National Mental Health Resource number now. And so for all things mental health. And so what they will do, if you call 988 in your state, and I'm sorry, it's not international, but if you call 988 in your state, in the United States, then they will help you with resources that are available in your area. And so that's always something to look at and to utilize as well. So the last thing I'm going to go over is, so we defined anger, right? We looked at how anger, some signs that you may have some anger issues. We looked at how anger might show up. And so now this last one I want to talk about is how, if you discover that you have some anger issues, how can you manage them? And I think when people think of anger issues too, they just automatically think that they're always beating somebody up, or they're knocking somebody over, or it's like a domestic violence thing every day. And again, that's not it, because I'm not doing any of that stuff. And guess what? I understand that I get angry sometimes. I've had some anger issues in my past because of, again, all of the things, right? And even some things from childhood contributed to those things as well. So please get the stigma out. Oh no, that's not me. Oh no, I've never done that. Oh no, come out of denial. You know what I mean? Because again, if you've been in a situation where, so let me just make this real plain, because it's Men's Month, and I'm just really trying to help somebody. So I remember growing up, and when my mom met my stepfather, my mom was saying, You could tell how much my stepfather is definitely a family man. A lot of men are very much family men, right? And so my mom says when she initially met my stepfather, he was fighting for custody of his boys, right? Fighting for custody. And so my dad won custody, my stepdaddy won custody of the case. And the day that the kids were supposed to come, the ex-wife took the children and left. They moved, disappeared, moved to Africa, right? Now, it was, of course, all kind of things that you can say and you can do. If you're in a situation where somebody has just taken your children and up and disappeared, right? And don't get me wrong, this doesn't apply to everybody, but it's going to apply to more people than not. And so if you are in a situation where your children have up, your wife, your spouse has up and just straight up disappeared, people don't do that just because, right? I'm going to say most people don't do that just because. Generally, something is going on. Generally, they're afraid of something, right? And so for years, it was, we don't know why they did that. My mom, I don't know why, he did that. But guess what? There is talk and there's history of domestic violence. And so why would somebody up and just leave the country? And here you have, on the outside, this great man. My stepfather was a great father. Even in death, the lessons that he taught me, I'm saying is, in death, a great father. But he has some anger issues. He has some anger issues. And anybody that knows me knows I love this man to death, and I feel his spirit around me each and every day. And even in love, I can say very just like that, because there's no malice in it, right? There's no malice in it. And if it helps somebody else, you to get to a point where, you have to acknowledge some behaviors. You have to then, okay, what are we going to do about it? You have to then recognize if you've acknowledged, if you have said, if you've gone to therapy and then all of a sudden it's happening again, then guess what? You didn't deal with the issues. 9 times out of 10, it's some of that unprocessed trauma that came from childhood that we were talking about. It's something to do with your mom. It's something to do with your dad. It's something to do with something that is holding you literally hostage. Right? And I'm telling you this is from a spiritual realm, because on a spiritual realm, it's spiritual warfare. You can't fight. It's a different fight, right? And if you just think you want to go to therapy, that's going to be nice. And you do need to do that. But you also need to understand that this is a spiritual fight. The devil is winning. You're losing. You're losing. Yeah, I know. I know he did that to you. I know she did that to you. I know he said that. I know she said that. Guess what? You're still losing. All the excuses in the world. Yeah, excuses. You're losing. You're losing. At some point, and I posted this video yesterday when I talked yesterday, you have a choice on how you respond. You have a choice to get to know yourself better, to identify your triggers, right? I had a choice. Do I continue to allow my relationships, to be affected? Do I continue to be prideful? Pride is a bitch. Pride is a bitch. Just, will have you doing all kind of things. I'm not going to dress that up. I could say it better, but pride is a bitch. You'll sit up and you will lose your family. You'll sit up and you'll lose your wife, your husband. You'll lose those people around you that you love because of pride. And then what? Self-sabotaging to the 10th power. And for what? Would it be better to identify that unworthiness in your belly? Would it be better to identify the anger? Would it be better we're talking about jealousy tomorrow, to identify the jealousy, the demonic entities that are in your body that is keeping you from your purpose, that's keeping you from being the best you? It is. It would be. You can continue to point fingers at everybody else. One of my first lessons when I first started this self-reflective, self-mastery thing that I've done is I was pointing a finger at everybody else. Oh, it's my ex-husband's fault because he came home, he did this, and if I would have been with him, then I wouldn't have been in that situation. It was his fault for everything. Oh, it's so-and-so fault. Who you blaming? Who you blaming? Have you looked in the mirror yet? Because my brother from another mother, Roderick Chappelle, he taught me. He said, why you point that finger at everybody else? You got 3 fingers pointing right back at you. Look at them 3. Why you point a finger? 3 fingers pointed back at you. When you going to take responsibility? How long you going to do that? Right? It's been working for you this long, or has it? Because are you happy for real? You not. You can't be, because you're not living authentically. You wrestling. You can't sleep. You can't eat nothing good. Your belly is always messed up. You find yourself over in the toilet throwing up. You all emotional all the time. You don't understand what's going on. You got chronic pain. Yeah, a pill ain't gonna fix it. No. That good look in the mirror and recognizing who you are and what you're doing and getting yourself together, being straight up and being honest with yourself, that's what's going to do it. And nobody can fix that for you. Can't nobody do that for you. So I'm going to teach you about these signs. If you want to get some help with these anger issues, these are some strategies. These are some things you can do. Let me see how many are there. There are 8. Let's go. Number 1, recognize the signs. We just talked about them. Be aware of the physical and emotional signs that indicate that you are becoming angry. Because what? Again, you have control over your body. You can feel yourself. You don't have to allow yourself to go there. Before I start cussing somebody else, guess what? I have a whole thought of whether I should stop or keep going. And sometimes, most of the time, I go ahead and stop. Couple times, I don't. Right? You feel that thing. You know yourself enough to know. You know when something's happened. Your heart is racing. Your body is tense. Your fists are clenched. You're irritable. Your thoughts are racing. You feel it. You know it's coming. You could very well walk away. You could very well go do something else. Recognizing the signs early on, you can intervene before your anger escalates. You ever been in a situation? I've been in a situation where I was like, I already know. I know how I'm going to respond. So guess what? I will see the person, and guess what I do? Leave. Let me go get my stuff. Let me get ready to go. Because I don't even want nothing to pop off. You can call it what you want. But for me, that's me having control. I have way more to lose. You out here acting a whole ass like you don't have nothing to lose. You have way more to lose. You putting your hands on somebody, guess what? You could go to jail. Somebody could press some charges against you. And then what? You have some children. Is it worth it? You have a whole job. Is it worth it? I had to think about that thing. I have responsibilities. If something happened to me, if I'm responding because I'm angry about whatever, and granted, it might be justified, right? My anger is justified. But how I respond, and if I black out because I'm angry, and God knows what's about to happen, and then what? You sitting in jail, you done wasted your whole life over some BS, and guess what that person that you was angry at doing? Okay. Number 2, take a time out. I feel passionate about this thing, y'all, because I'm telling you, it's just the way that it shows up. Oh, I need a better chair. I'm sorry. Number 2, take a time out. When you feel anger rising, remove yourself from the situation, if possible. Take a break, find a quiet place, find a quiet space where you can calm down, engage in deep breathing. Honey, that oxygen to the brain is real. That is a scientifically proven fact. To clear out all of the clutter, all of the frustration, take some cleansing breaths, honey. Relaxation will bring you down. It calms your heart rate down. It brings you down to center. It does help. Talking from experience. Number 3, practice deep breathing. Deep breathing can help calm your body and your mind while you're feeling angry. Take slow, deep breaths in through your nose. Hold the breath for a few seconds. Then exhale slowly through your mouth. Repeat this exercise several times until you become more relaxed. I've had times, because I'm a phone nurse, I've had times where I've had some ignorant patients on the phone have pissed me off to the 10th power. I can't just cuss these people out. The calls are recorded. I can't cuss these people out. I had to go and take me some breaths. Sometimes I got to get up. Let me get up and get away from this phone and walk away. Let me go. I'm in Texas. There can be some very racial, ignorant people that I have to talk to and I have to help. And so deep breathing, I'm telling you from experience, it does help. You can't change some of the situations, right? For real. You can't change some of the situations, but what you can do is change how you respond. Number 4, challenge negative thoughts. Anger is often fueled by negative thoughts, and this word is demonic to the 10th power, assumptions. Challenge and reframe these negative thoughts by questioning their validity. Look for alternative explanations or consider the situation from a different perspective. This can help you respond rationally and reduce your anger. Honey, when you get to assuming stuff, I can't stand assumptions. When you get to assuming stuff, baby, you will make up a whole story. You ever been with somebody, you done made up the whole story. You know who they talking to. You done made up the whole thing. Where they been, what they been doing, they laughing too much. You done made up a whole story in your mind, and then you done convince yourself so that it's so true. You sitting up bubbling and fuming. 9 times out of 10, ain't none of it took place, but you done convinced yourself. Assuming, acting a whole ass, and then find out it ain't true, and then what? Number 5. Express yourself calmly. Express yourself calmly. When you're ready to address the situation or communicate your feelings, do so in a calm and assertive manner. Use I statements to express how you feel without blaming or attacking others. This approach promotes better understanding and reduces likelihood of escalating conflicts. Express yourself calmly. Again, the communication is everything. And we're going to do another day just on communication just itself, because that's a whole nother lesson. Whole nother lesson. Number 6, practice active listening. When engaging in a conversation that may trigger your anger, practice active listening. Pay attention to the speakers. Pay attention to the speaker's words. Maintain eye contact and demonstrate empathy. By truly listening, you can better understand the other person's perspective and respond more effectively. Pay attention to the speaker's words. Maintain eye contact. A lot of time people, especially when you're mad, you are not listening to listen. You listen to respond. And so that you just picking out little things. You're not even listening to people like, I didn't even say that. That's not what I meant. And you done took it and you done ran down, honey. You just down there, you about to just make you a touchdown on the other people team. You ain't on the right side. You ain't scoring no points. You done ran the play, honey. You done ran the play and you just all the way down the field just running with it. Gone. Okay. Running the wrong way. Okay. Number 7. Seek support. If you find it challenging to manage your anger on your own, consider seeking support from a therapy or a counselor. We talked about this, right? They can help you explore the underlying causes of your anger, teach you coping mechanisms, and provide guidance on anger management techniques tailored to your specific needs. Anger, this thing is not a one size fits all, right? What works for me may not work for you. And how I express my anger and how you express your anger may be two different things, right? Nevertheless, it's just not a good feeling, and it's not a good way to have your emotions, right, all bottled up. And so you want to get you somebody that is going to help you navigate these emotions and navigate these feelings until you can do it yourself, right? You said not time out. Yes, honey, time out. Look, adults need a time out too, honey. Take it. Number 8, last one, is engage in stress relieving activities. Engage in stress relieving activities. So engage in activities that help reduce stress can have a positive impact on managing your anger. Finding healthy outlets for your emotions, such as exercising, practicing mindfulness and meditation, engaging in hobbies, or practicing activities that bring you joy and relaxation. When I first started this back in 2019, I was going to this kickboxing class. Baby, that punching bag is everything. That punching bag is everything. I never forget. The lady was like, imagine somebody that you angry with. Baby, what she tell me that for, honey? Them punches came right good. What she say that for? She said, imagine somebody that you're angry with on the punching bag. That was a good workout for me. She said, ooh. She was holding my bag. She was like, ooh, you. I was like, yeah. Yeah. But it was a healthy way. It's a healthy way to get that negative energy out of you. You know, punching bags are a great tool. Even, you know, running, jogging, all of the stuff, all of it is a great tool and a great way to get that negative energy out, right? You want to just, focus that energy somewhere else. The other thing is if you have the opportunity to figure out what's going on, to, you know, if people are still alive and people are still here that you can have some conversations with, right? And I cover this again on my unforgiveness video, because sometimes, some things that have happened to us, it's really not much people can say, right? But it is just that acknowledgement that, something traumatic happened. Somebody dropped the ball. You did something to me, right? And having that acknowledgement that I'm not crazy. I do have I am feeling this anger because of something, because a lot of times people are angry, and this what makes it even worse, is that people are, oh, what you angry about? Why? What you worry about that for? Why you still worried about that? What? You don't feel seen. You don't feel acknowledged, right? You don't feel loved. You know what I mean? That's what it boils down to. A lot of people that are angry is you don't feel seen, you don't feel loved, right? You don't feel acknowledged. And just that in itself can cause, and then to have people make you feel like you're crazy for feeling the way that you feel. Now, you have valid reason to feel the way that you feel. Now, the way that you respond to it is a whole different thing. I can remember when my baby girl, not baby girl, but my oldest daughter was younger, and she was in the third grade. And her father got into some trouble. Now, her and her father used to have their Friday night date nights. And so he got into some trouble. And so they couldn't, Friday night phone calls, because, we lived out of a state. And so he got into some trouble. They couldn't do the Friday night calls and stuff. And so she was pretty angry about that as a third grader, so she was acting out in school. And she wrote her teacher a letter. And it was just a very disrespectful letter. Her teacher did something. She called her teacher a liar. It was like this whole big, it was this movie, my Big Fat Liar, Nickelodeon had out. And so she wrote her teacher a letter saying, "Dear so-and-so, you are a big fat liar," and blah, 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 right? And so she gonna be like, "Ma, why you saying that's all my business?" But I'm very surface, no details. But nevertheless, I said to her at that point, I understand that you are upset, and you can be upset, right? But what you can't do is self-sabotage, right? What you can't do is be disrespectful, And so and we can channel that some other kind of way. I told that story wrong. I told that wrong. This was before they were having the phone calls. I think she was missing her father, and the not speaking to him and not being able to maybe express that in her third grade mind is where it was. So then we established, I'm sorry about that, I said that wrong. That's when we established the phone calls for Fridays. Friday at 7:00, we'll talk to dad, and that seemed to help. And so, and I'm saying that because it may be some other young person out there that's struggling, and it needs to be some kind of line of communication that, maybe there's a distance, you're in one state, they're in another state, or whatever it is, but to open up the lines of communication. A lot of people, grown people, adults, don't consider the children. Once a relationship is over, all you thinking about is yourself. And so you use your children as means and as pawns, and that's wrong. That's wrong. And I'm definitely saying that because I've watched it. I watched it with my friends. I've watched it with my brothers, and it irks my whole soul. You are affecting your children. And guess what is going to happen when your children get older? Because you think you're doing something right now, and you may be getting away with it right now. But wait for those children to grow up. They're going to have some feelings about you. they're going to hate you for it because you're keeping them from that other parent. And for what? You're being selfish. If you have some things to think about, to deal with that other parent, then deal with it with the other parent, right? If he's disrespectful or whatever, it's like my daughter's father, for example. For whatever reason, there's always conflict, right? Because he has a lot of unresolved issue. He has a lot of anger. And I know that. So guess what? I don't engage. I'm not going to engage. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't have to engage, right? I remove myself from the situation. Can you remove yourself from the situation? Can you think of another way to handle the situation, whether yours is this or something else? Can you think of another way to handle the situation? If nothing else that I gave you, today as examples will work for you. Because understanding that, again, your spirit is affected, your children's spirit may affect it. The ripple effect of the anger is not just going to hurt one person. It's definitely going to hurt you, but it's not just going to hurt one person. There are other people to consider, right? But better yet, in this reflections, choosing you guilt-free, right? I just want to be better, not perfect, just better. I just want people to be better, right? Not that you have to, again, beat yourself up because you made some choices. Oh my God, I cussed my brother out. I'm a bad person. No, I cussed my brother out. I've learned from that. I am sorry. I'm going to not do that again. I'm going to communicate effectively. I'm going to communicate better. If something upsets me, then I'll express that something upset me and we can have a conversation, right? That's different. That's different. And so can you handle things differently? How do you know if anything that I've said today has resonated anywhere in your spirit? Then I'm talking to you, right? Or if, again, somebody is saying something to you that relates to any of this, stop getting offended. I call myself Mrs. Divine Intervention because, again, I don't believe this is this light, y'all. I feel like I had sweat yesterday. It's 90 degrees in Texas. I don't believe in coincidences, only God's divine intervention in our lives. And so consider this a divine intervention. Because God forbid I have a friend who was in a situation and the husband did not think, because he only, he didn't hit the girl all the time, right? He didn't hit her all the time. It only happened every couple months. But what happened? He hit her one time and he killed her. She flew into something, cracked her head up against the fireplace. And so what? Now she's gone. He's serving a life sentence. And for what? Because you couldn't get control of yourself? Because she said something crazy to you? Because what again? It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And so I have done what I have been commanded to do. I'm being obedient to the Spirit. And so I have done what I have came to do. I have said all that I have to say today on this topic. Again, understanding that these things are spirits, right? And so that means that, and you can Google this in the Bible. I'm not wonderful. I'm not a pastor. I'm not trying to be a pastor. I am a nurse. I've been a nurse for 22 years. I am somebody who loves me some Jesus. I am a faith walker. I am a joy bringer. I am a light bringer. I am an educator, right? I am a lot of things, but I'm not a pastor, nor am I a therapist. And so, again, if you need that spiritual guidance, then talk to your pastor, right? Or talk to somebody spiritually that you can connect with. If you need a therapist, then again, I have those resources on my YouTube channel. 988 is another resource that you can use. That's a national mental health line for people that need resources for all things mental health. And I am just somebody who is here to bring light to darkness. I'm somebody who is bold and brave enough to talk about these uncomfortable things that people don't like to talk about. But it's necessary for us to talk about these things, because if we continue to act as if these things don't exist, that these things are not in our community, that these things are not rampant throughout our churches, our homes, our communities, then we will continue to suffer. And I don't believe that we were put here to suffer. I know that for sure. God came so that we may have life and we may have it more abundantly. And I just know for sure how much joy, peace, happiness is in my spirit since I've addressed these demons that I had inside of me, these demonic entities, this anger that was inside of me. Now there's a peace there that was not there before. But it took me to acknowledge it. It's painful, right? It's hard to go through, even to look at yourself sometimes and say, you know what? I messed up. I'm messing up right now, but I want to be better and I want to do better. I just heard Michael Jackson, honey, the man in the mirror. Honey, you just putting one foot in front of the other, right? That was a program that I was with one of the girls, and one of the guys sung this song, honey, you just putting one foot in front of the other. Love yourself enough, right? You deserve more. And if you think you don't, watch that unworthiness video that I made yesterday, honey. I'm tackling it all the uncomfortable spaces. Yes. Again, not for you to beat yourself up, but for you to come and give yourself some grace. God sent his son. All those things that you're holding yourself hostage to, he already paid that debt. Already paid it. And you don't have to be a believer. Michelle, you know what? I don't believe. I ain't never been to church. I don't do that. But could care nothing about none of that. Don't care nothing about it. You care about it. Maybe some other people care about it. But the one that matters, upstairs. God. Oh, my homeboy Jesus. My best friend. My brother. My homie lover friend. Yeah, he don't care. Yeah, he told me. He don't care. I'm the messenger. I'm telling you, he don't care. I know you feel like you did some stuff. Guess what? Everybody's done some stuff. Yeah, everybody's done some stuff. Yeah, ain't nobody down here. Like on this side of heaven, nobody's worthy, honey. Nobody. Yeah. And he already knew that. Yeah, so again, that's why he sent Jesus. Yeah, honey. Yeah, that's all you got to do. That's all you got to do is believe that he came and he died for us, because he did. I wasn't there. No, I wasn't there. But honey, I know the story. You ain't heard the story? Yeah, Google it. Study it for yourself. I'm going to tell you something. Since I was a little girl, I've never needed the story. I've never needed the story. I know that some people need the story, and some people are so like scientific and you know, their mind is so that they gotta they got figured out, and they need the numbers and all those analytical people and all that stuff. Well, guess what? Now all those analytical people, you can Google this too. because I don't deal with nothing that's not evidence-based. That's the nurse in me. But yeah, they all are associating spiritual things. They're recognizing spiritual things because you know why? They're unexplainable things that are happening. And that's what God does. He comes and he washes us, even like the dirtiest that you may feel. You may feel dirty as ever, honey. I've done some things too. You've done something. Everybody has done some things. Again, no perfect person on this side of heaven. Not one. Like the person that you think is like the most perfect person. Like you might be saying like, oh, the pastor. Nope. Nope. Not even the pastor. All of them. No matter like which one, like you think is, no. Look, nope. Nope. Mm-mm. No perfect beings on this side of heaven, honey. So it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what you think you've done, what you should have done. You've never been to church. You've never done this. You've never done. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So take that off the list, honey. The definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over and over again and expecting a different result. I'm not here, and this is not my purpose to convert anybody to Christianity, but I am telling you that there's something bigger and something greater out there, and you can stop holding yourself hostage. You can stop holding yourself hostage. The message from Eric Thomas that I played earlier, I am going to attach that to this video because it is a powerful message. I just ran across it yesterday. I don't believe in coincidences. Literally, God sent me that message because it is perfect. He talks about a lot of stuff. Every day before I close, if I remember, I try to read something positive. This is my little devotional book, 365 Days of Prayer. And it is June the 28th. So June the 28th, it says, never abandoned. The scripture says, I had said in my alarm, I am cut off from your sight, but you heard the voice of my pleas for mercy when I cried to you for help. That is in Psalms 31 and 22. It says, faithful one, today, I am reminded of your loyal love that never leaves me in my suffering. You do not turn away from me when I spiral in loneliness and despair. You don't try to lecture me out of sorrow. What a wonderful Father you are. Always reaching out in comfort and compassion. You wrap around me with the peace of your presence whenever I need it. Meet me with your goodness again today and redirect my point of view. Lord, let me see from your higher perspective rather than my limited understanding. I know that I see in part, but you see the whole picture from beginning to the end, not just in my life. You see the entire trajectory of the world. I won't stop turning to you for help, and I know that you will never turn away from me. I know that you will never turn me away. You don't just tolerate me, you delight me. What a wonderful reminder. You delight in me. Oh, that's different. You delight in me. What a wonderful reminder. And so the question of the day is, what would it look like to see your life from God's perspective today? How appropriate. What would it look like to see your life from God's perspective today? Again, y'all, when I was going through this healing journey, I was in this group called Mirror Work. It is a wonderful 28-day journey to healing by Miss Louise Hay. It's available on Amazon. It's about $12.99, somewhere off in there. But after I got to a point where I had done some healing because that mirror work was wow. One of the things that I realized when I was doing mirror work, the facilitator, Mr. Fancito Edwards Jr., beautiful spirit, he said the first day, he said, when you get ready to do the mirror work tonight, because it gives you exercises every day to do in the mirror, right? He said, when you do the mirror work tonight, don't forget to look yourself in the eyes. And I was thinking, my first thought, like, why would he even say that? Like, you got to look in the mirror. But, whatever. All right, look yourself in the eyes. I go that night to do the mirror work, and guess what I realized? I had not been looking myself in the eyes. Yeah, I go to the mirror every day, brush my teeth, fix my face, fix my hair, right? Brush, do all the things or whatever. But to just really look in my eyes, I hadn't done that. That is a sign of unworthiness. We covered yesterday. Go back and watch the video. Again, it's on my Facebook page and it's on the YouTube channel, right? I didn't know that I had some unworthiness in my belly. If you would have just said that to me, I would have said, what, you crazy? No, I ain't got no problem with it. I love myself. What are you talking about? But it showed up in my actions. It showed up in the relationships. It showed up as people that I allowed to treat me a certain way. Why are you allowing people to treat you a certain way? Why are you staying in situations longer than you're staying in situations? Why are you with somebody like you know good and hell well? You deserve better. Why? Unworthiness in the belly. And it stemmed all the way back to childhood. This anger that I was carrying around made it hard for me to look myself in the eye because why? I was angry with my dad. I've been angry with my mom. To me, that's disrespectful. As a Christian woman, you're not supposed to be angry with are you crazy? Like, you can't do that. You can't be angry with your mom and your dad. What? That's disrespectful. Understanding again that you're not angry just because. And even that is in the Bible, where there's a scripture that says, parents, do not provoke your children to anger. Why would that be there? Because they're not perfect either. There's no rule book to parenting. Guess what? They made mistakes. As a parent, like I said, I made mistakes. As a parent, my daughter being a parent, guess what? She's going to make some mistakes. It just is what it is, right? But you have a choice and you have a decision now to make. Are you going to continue to allow that anger to fester? Because for me, last year, holding that anger in my belly, my cat's trying to stuck in here. Me holding that anger in my belly last year, inflammation showed up in my body. It was an emotional response to anger, and my whole body was inflamed. I had to have surgery. The man said, how long has this thing been going on? It had been going on. My baby girl was 13. It had been going on for 13 years. But until that anger imploded in my body, then guess what else imploded? I was killing myself slowly. You are killing yourself slowly. Anger shows up as cancer. It shows up as diabetes. It shows up as chronic pain, right? That is why these things are demonic. The devil wants you to kill yourself. He can't do it, but he can trick you into doing it yourself. by any means necessary. So what will he use? The closest people to you. He'll use your mother. He'll use your father. He'll use your children. He will use your siblings. He will use the people to you, the closest, that love you the most, or that are supposed to love you the most. What are you going to do? I'm waiting for an answer. What you going to do? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting to get different result. How long are you going to point the finger, boo? Okay. All right. Give yourself some grace, honey. Everybody makes mistakes. And if you're like me, you've made multiple mistakes. But God will still use you and he will still love you. That I know for sure. Because the Lord knows I'm not worthy. But I am. Right? We're not worthy. But we are. Yeah. All right. I'm done. For real this time. For real. All right. I always feel like I got to come up with a slogan or something because I be wanting to say what Tab say. Y'all go on about your business. The past 3 days, I've been wanting to say that. Y'all go on about your business because I ain't got nothing else to say. I have said enough. I was going to say, okay. I did my verse yesterday. I was like, what? I'm supposed to be saying something else. Listen, it's your girl, Michelle Franklin. That's it. That's all I got for you. Miss Michelle D.I., this has been a divine intervention, honey. God uses me in that way to say the difficult and have the elephant in the room conversations, honey. These difficult conversations, but necessary. I feel like when you walk in your purpose, because this is all for purpose, honey. Yeah, get you unstuck so you can be who God called you to be. Yeah, you can't be who you're supposed to be carrying around all this anger, babe. Letting the devil use you. All this unworthiness in the belly. Yeah, it's going to hold you stagnant. It's going to keep you complacent. It's going to make you not show up how you're supposed to show up. So I aspire to inspire until I expire, just like Mr. Les Brown, honey. That's what I'm doing. What you doing? What you doing? We'll be back tomorrow. Y'all have a good one.